long and the short of it, right? Good evening. I'm so very pleased to be here this evening. It's always good when we come together to praise each other. And we're here today to praise a magnificent sister in the Word. And through praising her, we are praising our people. That's all I'm going to say right now. Mom.
You know, really, all I need to say to that is amen. We are certainly here to celebrate being Africans. And we have some of our finest scholars and thinkers and artists here with us. We begin often here at Bethany and other gatherings with our brother Jimmy Thompson and lift every voice and sing.
Turn to page 478.
Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise.
Before we go any further, as is our tradition, Reverend Elder Watkins, who is the executive minister here, and if that's not exactly the correct title, we will fix that in a moment. But let us welcome our brother with the prayer, Reverend Watkins.
Let us pray. Dear God, our Father, Thou who art the maker of all that is, the creator of heaven and earth, we thank you this evening for the strength to dwell in this place in unity as an African people. We thank you for the blessings that you have given us through our foreparents, our fathers, and our mothers, that have enabled us to travel over these many years and many days and many obstacles and many trials, to say that truly thou art God and we are your people. We come this evening in gratitude and celebration of one of our own, to raise her up to your glory, so that our people may see the path in which they are to trod, so that we might be lifted above the obstacles and the down things that keep us from being all that we are meant to be in your sight. We thank you in all things, even in our coming to these shores. Let us continue to be your people and to make a difference in the world, in spite of all those who would be against us, who would prevent your will and your way from being done. Give us your wisdom, give us your strength, and give us your power. And we shall live to give your name the praise eternal. Bless us this evening, endow us with your Holy Spirit, and let what we do here be for the uplifting of your people, these, your African people, and for thy glory. It is in the precious name of Jesus, that oldest African, we pray. Amen.
Wesley Barnes comes to welcome us all here at Bethany Baptist Church. Wesley Barnes.
Brothers and sisters. To our honored elders, Dr. John Henrik Clarke and Dr. Yosef Benjamin, who were the first and second recipients of the William Leo Hansberry Award, to our honored guests, the honoree, Dr. Barbara Sizemore, and to our family and friends. On behalf of our illustrious, dynamic chairman, Attorney Alton Maddox, and the UAM family in general, we would like to welcome you and to express our sincere thanks and heartfelt appreciation for your coming out this evening to help us celebrate and to bestow upon Dr. Barbara Sizemore this, our third annual William Leo Hansberry Award. William Leo Hansberry was born in 1894 to Eldon Hayes and Harriet Pauline Hansberry in Boston, Mississippi. His father was a professor of history at Alcorn College, and he passed away when Leo was only 3, and left him a huge historical library to which he made full use of and took advantage by going on to become one of the world's greatest historians. He obtained his BS degree and his MA degree in anthropology in 1922 and in 1931 respectively from Harvard University. He did additional postgraduate work at various other institutes, colleges, and universities around the country, as well as outside of the U.S. He lectured to many groups and organizations after graduating from Harvard. He went on to accept an appointment at Howard University, believing that this university could support his ambitious programs and his teachings, which he had already begun, and that Washington, D.C. would offer better opportunities for his research. He was a Fulbright scholar who studied at over 100 archaeological sites in Africa. He was one of the first African Americans to devote his life exclusively to the study of Africa and its ancient civilizations. Among his colleagues, he was known for his subtle humor and his nonconformity. However, among his students, he was known for his dedication, devotion, and his availability to them. Essentially, his undertakings caused him to be idolized by his students and alienated from his professional peers, as his views were not counter-prevailing at the time, but they also came at a time when the American Negro rejected any association with Africa. One of Professor Hansberry's major motivating factors that contributed greatly to the extensive study and research that he did in ancient African civilizations was the insistence by a distinguished Egyptologist, George Andrew Riser, that the Negro had not played in ancient Nile Valley civilization. Professor Hansberry's extensive research had led him to conclude that Africa's past not only constituted a unique and highly developed cultural heritage for African people, but laid the foundation for his unorthodox teaching that the cradle of civilization was not in the Fertile Crescent as thought, but that the cradle of civilization was in Africa, and that Egypt had derived its early culture from the Kushite and Ethiopian kingdoms to the south. He also taught the more accepted view that a primary destructive agent of Africa's past was the slave trade, and that the Arabs, Europeans, and Americans not only destroyed African civilizations, but also suppressed knowledge of them to support their contention that slavery was a civilizing factor. After his retirement from Howard, a number of unexpected events occurred which caused the last 5 years of his life to be the most rewarding. These events were centered around several offers from various historians and world-famous people like Kwame Nkrumah to publish his extensive research in their countries and at their universities. He had several honorary degrees bestowed upon him, and in 1964, he was the first recipient of the Haile Selassie I Prize Trust for pioneering work in African history, archaeology, and anthropology. William Leo Hansberry expired this life in 1965, leaving as part of his legacy the inspiration he gave thousands of students to raise their level of consciousness by becoming aware and knowledgeable about their African culture and history. His unpopular and unaccepted at that time teachings concerning Africans and their contributions to ancient African civilizations, and his now widely accepted teachings, especially his teachings that the cradle of civilization is in Africa. Thanks again to all of you for sharing this special time with us, and we would like, as you leave, to take with you not only our best wishes and thanks, but also a few words of wisdom from one of our late great ancestors, Marcus Garvey. Those words are, a people without a knowledge of their past is like a tree without roots. And as the Ghanaians say, Akwaba, translation, welcome.
One of the most powerfully supported organizations in our community is the African Poetry Theater. From that theater, we have two wordsmiths, two of our people who deal with words. One sister, Barbara Scott, is a teacher there. She was the winner of their literature, their award of literature for this year. Along with her, we have Sister Kamen Nebti Mar Aman, who is the director of the African Poetry Theater, the literature department. So let us bring them one at a time before we give you words of praise for this occasion. Let us welcome. Marigani. Hotel. Assalamu alaikum. How y'all? I'm truly honored beyond words to be a part of this program with such a dynamic sister whose name, God bless, is the same as mine. On this sacred 7th day of December, I'd like to offer to Sister Sizemore a poem that I wrote in 1984 that caused me a lot of problems in the Board of Education where I work as a paraprofessional. It's called Reading, Writing, and Racism. Stay with me. A is for aggression, as taught on TV. White teachers abuse and use our babies, white principals don't see. B is for books and supplies that never get used, because to educate ex-slaves will cost them some dues. C is for children, ours, the innocent lambs, used by gay politicians in all kinds of scams. D for danger that finally we see, educate our own if we would be free. E, Ethiopia, ours since the beginning of time, self-love, self-respect are thoughts to be placed on their minds. F is for failing outright with their tailored SATs. The test they must pass is persist and succeed. G is for ghetto, into which the river of aliens flow at 8:30 each a.m. to hurt and run with the dough. H is for Holocaust, splattered all over the place, while our endangered are given February to get to the race. I is for indifference, covering miseducation's pale face. She's tenured and well commended for the psyche she's hired to erase.
J is for justice, whose coming is long overdue. Martin, Malcolm, Garvey, they knew what to do. K, kinky hair, the African kind, but it's not the texture of hair, but what's on your mind. L is for labels systematically placed on black males without shame. Why are they afraid to call them by name? Young, gifted, black. M for Marva Collins, a sister to praise in Africa's jungles, creating showing sun rays. N is for Negroes, still in the system, who don't understand that the first man of African land. O is for oppression. It's been ours for so long. When we learn who we are, we'll sing a new song. All fired up, can't take no more. All fired up, won't take it no more. P is for perfect performance. Each caretaker must give to all of God's children if our future will live. Q is for quotas, unnecessary if justice weren't blind. But in a counterfeit democracy, is there any other kind? R is for removal of tenure, the monster most feared by graduated neurotics who flunk teaching year after year after year. S, special education, their holding pen, black males to slaughter, provides the perfect hive for their psychotic, incest-bred, cocaine head, well-paid sons and daughters. Yes. T is for truth, ours, it must be told. Teach them of Africa, and they will go for the gold. U, unity, umoja, the answer at last. Each one teach one, or we will repeat the bloody torturous past. V is for victory, it shall be ours, and as it moves into sight, progress is sorely deterred if we can't think, read, or write. W, Watusi, a tribe in Africa, grows 7 feet tall. Must be the family of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. X is for Xhosa, click tongue of South Africa's land. Diamonds and the cutters thereof are cursed in Israel's land. Y is for young people. We must make them our extended family concern. Give them their heritage or they will burn, baby burn. Z is for Zionism, racism, that's the name of their game. But a teacher who's enlightened knows they are one and the same.
It's an honor to be here tonight in tribute to Barbara Sizemore. I feel affinity with her, being an educator and a mother of 6 myself. Today, now more than any time, we have to remove the clouds of ignorance and the heights. I have a poem that I begin with called Stone Women. Stone, sure enough women, rocking cradles, birthing nations, lifting oppressed chins, staring down apartheid, waiting for Mandela, clenching fists, biting bullets, saving face, upholding a mighty race, carrying the burden, surviving the whip, loving your man, licking the wounds, rolling with the flow, stomping out humiliations, fighting sexist obstacles, making a way. Hatshepsut, winning, Rosa Parks, Shirley Chisholm, Barbara Sizemore, a one of many. Sewing down liberations, mending fences, molding minds, shaping a nation, sure enough. Dedicate this one to Barbara Sizemore. Go down, Sister Barbara. Go down, Sister Barbara, and seize more of our young ones from the lion's den. Open up the well's jaws, let them free. Slay the oppressors of our history. Go down, Sister Barbara, and wipe the slate clean. Fill our young ones with the knowledge of their greatness, their ancestors. Open up the windows and let the summer's breeze in. Uplift their spirits, it is written, it's your decree. Go down, Sister Barbara, with both hands on the sword. Destroy the books that tell that we are inferior. Go down, Sister Barbara, go down and dig deep. Go down and dig deep. Go down and dig deep. And you'll continue to strive to uplift Almighty grace. Sometimes in the struggle we get a little tired, but every once in a while it lifts your spirit to meet someone that's been out there and struggling longer than you have. I've been working for the cause for a long time and I ain't tired yet.
All right.
While waiting for the bus, I met a woman in her 60s and she said to me, I've been working for the cause for a long time and I ain't tired yet. She said, I got crippled fighting for the cause and I ain't tired yet. She said, I'm getting ready to go to a meeting right now. I've been fighting for the cause for a long time and I ain't tired yet. And I ain't tired yet. She said, see those young people on the corner taking drugs, all depressed. I've been fighting for the cause for a long time and I ain't tired yet. And I ain't tired yet. Could you sing it with me? I've been fighting for the cause for a long time and I ain't tired yet. I've been fighting for the cause for a long time and I ain't tired yet. I've been fighting for the cause for a long time and I ain't tired yet. And I ain't tired yet. That's it.
I ain't tired yet. No way. Folks said, I ain't no way tired. No way tired. We have any folks think they start something, they better stop. They don't at all. Music is a part of our life, it's part of our African spirituality, and we have here a brother on the piano who is going to play and sing a song that some of us know was written by a slaver, a man who slaved our people. But he claimed too much. See, he claimed the music and the words, and then in his writing he said that he had listened while he was aboard ship, and one night, when there was a terrible storm, he felt he would lose his life and he felt he would lose his merchandise, and so he converted. Of course, by that time he made his fortune. Years later, he put words to the music that he had heard our ancestors sing from the hub. He heard them moaning, he heard their cries coming up, and he put his talking words to them coming from his spirit. But understand that it's our sound that you will hear now on the piano, played and sung by Brother Cleveland Leon. Let us pray.
How sweet the
This is a Baptist church in the African tradition. Y'all say amen. I knew it was in there all the time. We have been involved in a struggle for truth for some time. And one of the reasons that we fight so well is because we have had such good training. We have had excellent generals on the front line who train and teach and wrap us in a certain kind of honor. There is a scripture that says, before you put on the breastplate of armor, before you put on your battle helmet, first you've got to wrap your loins in truth. If indeed you are going to be able to struggle effectively, somehow you have got to be wrapped, strapped, tucked in, protected by the truth. It is one of the reasons that we fight so well, because the brothers and sisters, some of whom are elders now, have trained us well. We have been blessed to be a part of the same generation of a Dr. Yosef Ben Yamin. I want you to know that there are those who are going to read about Dr. Ben. There are those yet unborn who will read and reminisce and think back and ask you, Grandpa, tell me about Dr. Ben. But we are the generation that has been blessed to be alive in this season with Dr. Ben. You know, I could do a sermon on Dr. Ben. But they told me that they cautioned me not to do that. I want to introduce our brother, our elder, our father, our leader, who has trained us well, Dr. Yosef Ben Yamin.
I want first to say to this audience, I am not being an upstart. Dr. Clarke said it was all right for me to speak. He is my elder. I noticed on the program that I was listening before him, and in the back I asked him for permission that he go first because in his proper place. I just asked him again, he said, it's all right. So you understand, I'm speaking with his permission. If I was asked, I was thinking, how do you speak about a great woman? And you know how I feel about African women. What can I say about her that I have not said about others? And how can I praise her? And I find to say, if it was possible to go to wherever people go when they pass on, and then you had a second chance to come back, not from the same woman that you came from the first time, I would ask to have Barbara Sizemore to be my mother. Certainly, because of the greatness of the woman she is. Someone said, you seem as a sex object. Yes, that's why I want to be her child. It couldn't be that way without a sex object. But then there was something else why I would want to be the child of this great woman. Because it means that I would be introduced to books while in the pregnancy. Not when I come out. She'll be reading to me while I'm stored in heaven. And you know what I think about black women? Black women are heaven. And in heaven there is war. Most people think of heaven as a place you go, drink milk, honey, get married, everything like that. I see heaven as a struggling place. And when I first met her, she can't remember because she was at war. I went to the United Nations and I had occasion to go to Washington, D.C. In the midst of when she was fighting almost the United States government, she was fighting the Board of Education in Washington, D.C. And sometimes alone, she was fighting the issue of being a mother with children and still fighting for her people. And there were times I know, because I went down the road in one set when she was alone with a lot of people around her. There is that time when you can have thousands around you and be alone, waiting for someone to say a kind word. And sometimes even your own family have deserted you because they're saying, how do you know you're correct when the rest of the people know you're wrong? But you know you're correct. Something within you, and this is the quality of the sister we honored tonight. To speak of the college degrees and all that, which is very important, but it's the human side of our sister. And she knows us well. She knows us from the elementary grades and the pre-elementary grades, from the high school level and up in the college and post-college training. She knows our people totally. And most of all, I will notice when we were there, the young gentleman was singing what to me sounded like Amazing Grace. I'm not much of a religious person as most of you know. I think I'm rather spiritual, but that's a matter of opinion. But she was scribbling on what seems to be a book of some sort. But when the first note ran out, she took time to pay praises to her concept of a God. She feels the spiritual ability of the African. And some of us are ashamed to show our spirituality. It seems to be a fair. But every time I've seen Sister Barbara, even when it was the fair, the thing that they put on in Indiana one time, we went down there, she probably doesn't remember, Expo. And again, we were in the midst of a heated thing that time Jesse used to be with black people. He didn't make all the apologies to those people. And Sister Barbara and Jesse, should I say, was a heated, some people said debate, let's call it argument proceeding. And she said, but God, Jesse, you must be able to understand this simple thing. I was listening. She had resorted to her concept of her strength. And I think this award, I was lucky enough to meet Dr. Hansberry from my position, Dr. Hansberry, in Egypt when he was there doing his Fulbright studies. And we talked quite a lot. And the strength in this man, I see the strength in this woman. John says that he was a frustrated Baptist preacher. That's why he takes so long in speaking. I am a frustrated Hebrew runner. And so I'm going to start run off the stage to give other people a chance to speak. But I'm going to end by saying, Sister Barbara, heaven is between a black woman's legs. I am quoting, it's not original, I'm quoting Pepi II, the Pharaoh of the 6th dynasty. And what it means, you not only nourish your children as you bring them from heaven, but you bring others to knowledge in heaven. I am not your husband, but I'm going to say it this way. I love you.
When I talk about being in the same generation with Dr. Ben, so I don't mean it really in a cutesy way, symbolic. I mean seriously. I want y'all to consider seriously that we are the generation that has been blessed with teachers, scholars, warriors. It means that this is the generation that has a historical responsibility. This is the generation who has been blessed with all the tools that we need to free our people and to set the world right side up. See, don't go to glory and have to be questioned. Why didn't you succeed in your generation? You don't have to be told, I've given you everything you need. And y'all are still coming before the altar, talking about, I'm going to take it to the Lord and leave it there. Just here, God. Why are y'all leaving it here? I have given you Dr. Ben. I have given you everybody, everything, all that you need. And still, you come like it's a hip idea. I'm going to take it to the Lord and leave it there. Like God has not already given us what we need to resolve this process. So I want you to know I'm serious about this being a blessed generation with the resources, with the thinkers, with the teachers. This is a blessed generation. Don't block the blessing. We are being blessed. We have been blessed with Dr. Yosef Ben Yaakov. And as Dr. Ben has pointed out, he has been blessed by Dr. John Henrik Clarke. It is like, how much, black people? What else do we need? Who else y'all want God to send? It's hard not to preach up in here. our very infrastructure. This brother is our very foundation. This brother is our teacher, our leader. This brother is responsible for our great confidence. We have been blessed. Dr. John Henrik Clarke.
Many times, people do not know where they have to go because they don't know where they've been. They're not too clear where they are. There was a time in our historical life when we set educators down and told them to think. You don't have to make your sandwich. We'll make your sandwich. You don't have to worry about your food. We'll bring you your food. The educator was a professional thinker. He wasn't burdened with any other responsibility. Then an event occurred that we still suffer from. Foreigners, bakers, and foods introduced something called civilization. And we've been in trouble ever since. We've been in trouble because we began to look at our life through the eyes of foreigners. We adopted the foreigner's religion. We adopted the foreigner's clothes. We adopted the foreigner's habits. And we who produced a society that had no social agencies, no orphanages, because no one had ever gone to one. No jail, because no one had ever gone to one. No old people's home, because no one ever threw away grandma and grandpa. Become prisoners to the foreigners and the fakers and the fools and their habit and their control system that they use to keep our mind intact. They laughed at our gods. That's the first victory when we let them get away with it. And they taught us to laugh at our gods. For any people to rise in the world, they must regain their self-confidence and their image of God as they originally conceived him or her to be. The foreigners and the fakers and the fools were afraid of the woman in power. We introduced the woman as a deity and suffered no loss of manhood because we were wise enough to do it. In paying a tribute to Barbara Sizemore as an educator, colleague, fellow fighter, over 20 years. When I met her, she was angry, battling, shouting at the moon. And she still shouting, still angry. Because the fight is a way of life. In paying a tribute to her, I pay a tribute to the 3 female deities in my life. My great-grandmother, who taught me things about slavery and suffering, who made me almost a cultist Baptist. It took me years to free myself from it. My mother, who taught me respect for age groups, especially my younger sisters and my older uncles. My fifth grade teacher, who taught me how to believe in myself. You would think that this belief has harmed me. It has enhanced me. In my neighborhood, because I threaded the needles for old ladies who did errands, sometimes I got fed before their children got fed. Sometimes I got big slices of hot gingerbread. If you're not a Southerner, you don't know what I'm talking about. Nice butter biscuits. It had its rewards. And somehow, all those ladies were my teachers. That's right. As I passed by the porch, the sewing and gossiping, then my ears would catch a sound they thought I didn't get. That's little Bubba Clarke. Got a head on his shirt. Gonna be a leader. He gonna go, no, make something out of himself. I wasn't thinking about nothing but the usual messages. But inasmuch as they said it so many times, I would have called on to fulfill their promises. Educating our children, and we're all educators one way or the other. Maybe we in the home must say to the child, you can make it. You can be whatever you choose to be. Throw your dreams toward the sky. Let them bump on the moon. For anything one human mind can do, another human mind can do. When people remove from your historical memory the time when you controlled a state, you go through life petitioning other people for the right to be assistant to them while they control the state. When the monumental things taken from our mind, Barbara Sizemore has taken her own time. Time she could have had pleasure. Time she should have gone on vacation. Fighting school boards. Teaching children in her home. Outlining curriculum, making curriculum. Charting the way for education. We should reward her by each one of us becoming an educator in our own home, in our own community. And removing from the mind of our people all the filth that we have picked up in these years away from home. Yeah. We had no white leaders in Africa until Barnes came. We had no teenage pregnancy in Africa. We had no dope fiends in Africa. When you take a people out of the culture incubator of that creation and put them into another culture incubator, they pick up traits and habits they did not originally have. That's right. Our next assignment in history is to regain the concept and the skill of state management, because that is the container for a people's ambition and a people's direction. And when at last we gain that belief in ourselves, it will be because of teachers who took time, who gave time but didn't have to give over and above salary, who showed some kind of concern, having now contributed to the reawakening of a people. Faith has not saved us for any idle reason. We should stop calling ourselves a minority. And we should stop bending to small, organized minorities. The finest tribute to Dr. Sizemore is to educate and to realize all of us can educate one way or the other. Start in your community, start in your home, and that all of us in our own way have a revolution to fight. Find a partner to assist you in that revolution. Find a mirror and see who's looking back at you. Say to that partner looking back at you, if you are in doubt, we will start our revolution tomorrow. But if you have full confidence in yourself and your future, you will say, we will start our revolution today, and we will start our revolution right now. All right.
You know what that is? Return and fetch what is yours. And it's a great battle, fought on many fronts. An organization was just pulled together with your support, with the support of our people. That organization is called the Board of Education for People of African Descent. Now, everybody sound but there are others in whose mind this picture came, this vision came. And I want to bring to your attention the presence of one of them. Brother, who is the chairman of the Department of Education at Baruch College, and one of the founding members of the Board of Education, people of African descent, Dr. Ronald Smith. That's why they don't know how to handle us. We're going crazy. Another one of those items in that battle I would like to introduce to you right now. Sister, I've only known her maybe 4 or 5 years, but every time I see her, she's going to a meeting, she's organizing something. When the attack started on Dr. Jeffries up at City College from the Jews, he was looking for some other information. Next thing, from Sister Shashi. Something she had written 10 years ago. Way back in the days. You want some research done, the sister is on the case. You want some organization done, the sister is on the case. She started her education late, but let me tell you, it is a good model for those of us who think, well, we can't do nothing. Sister started her education late, now she's a doctor and she has everything she wants. And don't put her in front of a computer, child, she make that thing smoke. Send it to her. So let us welcome here the sister who has recently had published her new book, Criminalizing a Race, Free Blacks During Slavery, Dr. Shashi.
You know when you love somebody so much, you know when you love somebody so much, you say, I said, I'm going to write a major piece for my sister. And you know, if you love somebody too much, you can't write anything. That's just not good enough. That's not good enough for me to say about my sister Barbara Sizemore. I can tell you one thing, though, you will never be alone as long as I'm with you. And you know that. Because now I knew I was going to come on the program anyway. I wasn't going to do like normal to be nice. I was going to speak for my sister Barbara Sizemore. And I want you all to know who Barbara Sizemore is. And William Leo Hansberry is a model of Barbara Sizemore, a pioneer. Up here you have pioneers. You don't just have warriors. You have pioneers. Donald Smith is a pioneer. Robert Jeffries is a pioneer. And I see you up there doing that in Japanese. Glenn Jeffries is a pioneer. He's a molecular scientist. Dr. Beck, John Clarke. It's pretty glad that you're here now. You don't know what you're missing. I didn't come back because I knew this was going to happen. When I was dying, I'm serious, when I met Molecular, I was 78 pounds, blind, wrong, couldn't walk up, couldn't do anything. Held my hand. That's how I was out. I've been on the other side. I'm talking with both sides. But what made me come back? What made me know that this little skeleton, like those people in the Somalia, what makes you know that you're still a person? What made me know I was still a person was I would say, if someone like Nancy on there, if someone like John Clarke, if someone like Barbara Sizemore can cry over my existence, I must be important. You understand what I'm saying? Something so deep down in that African spirit, so great, is pulling for you. And what is that African spirit? Barbara Sizemore is dangerous. Yeah. She is a dangerous woman. She's a dangerous woman. She doesn't tell you about how bad things are. She tells you how good things are in places where they are not supposed to be good. She goes to schools that have all of the profiles that should not be successful. She has chronicled every good school across the country doing better than white folks, but less than what we have. She is angry. Right there, Barbara has put in 29 proposals to these people to get money to prove that we know how to teach our children. And they have given her 29 refusals. Now, if she put in one proposal we learned in Chicago that said we can't teach our children, she get all the money she wants. Well, that's what we learned. They know what we learned? And we learned this from brothers. They said your problem is saying you can't teach your children. You're supposed to say you can't teach your children and they'll give you the money. And that's something? That's something? Our tribute to Barbara is to get her research out here, not just in a book. First place, if you get the book, read the book. Don't put it on your shelf. That's to be, we got 400 books here. The left writes 4 books a month. John writes 4 books a week. Dr. Ben writes 4 books a day. is not the writer. We are in the most exciting time, the most historical moment. You know, Mom is right, Mom is right. What do you want the Most High to give you? I don't care how you believe in it. If it's a water, a creek, a stream, a sea, an ocean, a waterfall, it is all H2O. You understand? I don't care whether you call it Allah or Yahweh or Bacala, Wakata, it's the Most High, and it's in the image of perfection, and you're in the image of Him. Then you can be perfect. You can be perfect like Jesus was perfect. Jesus did quite he wasn't born right. He had to do something to become good. He had to do something to become good. He had to walk in the way of my sister Barbara, and my sister Rosa, and my sister Camille. Because it's the mothers, it's the energy of the mothers, it's the teachers who say, you are born like every seed in the universe with the potential to be perfect. Not the way the European tells you that you were born in the image of sin. Bible Sizemore believes that every single child can learn. Do you? Do you? So unless we have teachers that believe that, the Board of Education or nothing else is going to do. And then we got to call the roll. We got to call the roll. We got to go to these giant schools that are out here telling us with our own people, with our wonderful pigmentation that are destroying our children. Because we have enough educators of our complexion to be turning this thing around. Some of these schools that are doing good have black administrators, black teachers, black counselors, and the kids are reading and writing. Yes, you can learn about the pyramids, but wouldn't it be better if you learn how to make one yourself? The purpose of knowing that genius is to know you got that genius, not to know they have that genius. And that's what Bible's work is about. Bible's work is to challenge you, to get in those schools. And if you got teachers that don't believe your children can learn, get rid of the teachers. This is our legacy. This is our clarion call. This is my sister who will give you all the data you need. More important, she is going to give you all, aren't you? Going to give them the operational steps to do it. You see, it is not just about talking about what needs to be done. It is about chronicling the steps, the procedures of how to go about doing it. That's what Bob is doing in his talking. Here is a challenge to you all. This sister is challenging you, not the white folks. She's challenging you. See, this is about the garden trick. This is about the X trick. This is one of those alphabetic tricks. You are responsible to change the objective reality of your children. She is going to tell you, we know what to do, we know how to do it, so why are we doing it? That's what she's going to tell you, and if she ain't, I'm going to kick her about the relief. If the Most High brings you a prophet, and you plug up your ears, you cannot blame the Most High. A prophet in the land of the deaf is just an idiot babbling to the wind. You have in this auditorium, what do you call a church here? Avenue? In this place. In this place. At this time. With all our ancestors, whoever they may be. Speaking to us in the whispers of all their wisdom. Touching us with the divinity of the Most High. And whatever will make sure that you understand the Most High to be. Your consciousness brought you here. Let's hope that your consciousness raises your activism. Let's hope when you leave here tonight, you will not just say, I saw my disciple. Say, I'm going to walk in the way a sister, I am going to struggle. And even if I do get to be tired, because I'll do these tired. And even if I do get to be exhausted, because I do these, I am going to get up and struggle tired. I am going to get up and struggle and struggle and struggle because, as my brother Leonard said, we are going to have a glorious victory. All praises to that.
Now, before we go on with the program, I want to do this properly. There are people in the audience who you know, and we need to give them some just focus right now. Her name has been mentioned before, but I wanted to do it well. You know her as a partner. You know her as an artist. You know her as a speaker, as a person of inspiration. And I'd like all of us to give some little respect now to Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, or Sister Rosalind. We spoke of spiritual before, Shashi did, one way or another. They go out, in and out of our language because they're in our spirit. And right now, our brother, Clayton Lee, will give some in tone on the piano, some spirit music for you, just a little bit before we bring on our other speakers. Brother Clayton Lee.
sometimes. I'm not gonna try this time. Next time I go. Next time I'll
Amen. Amen. Now reverse y'all. Say amen. I want to acknowledge our brother here with us from Youngstown, Ohio, our own independent candidate for the presidency of the United States, Director of Project New Tomorrow, BrotherRonn Dan. A struggle that we're involved in. And one of the things that I'm pleased with and even proud of is the fact that we have been able to forge an alliance with scholars and activists that is rooted in trust, confidence. These are brothers and sisters in a circle of trust. You've already been introduced to Dr. Jeffries, been introduced to Dr. Smith. I want you to know that these are two of the people who are scholar activists. In fact, Dr. Smith and I will be in Abyssinia tomorrow night with an education forum. Then we'll be at the Board of Education on the 16th, as we keep this issue right in their face. They thought by now we would be gone, particularly when you consider how expensive it is. We fight against principalities, we fight against evil in high places. You know what that means? It means that the enemy fights full time. We have one lawyer who we don't pay. They have a team of lawyers who are on a retainer. They can call a meeting Monday morning They can call a meeting Tuesday morning. Very often, we've got to find a day somewhere, some evening that's convenient for everybody. And in all the years that we have organized, we have never found an evening that was convenient for everybody. We fight part-time against an enemy who struggles full-time to crush our people. Listen, Lord, if we could just reward these warriors. If we could reward these warriors the way we reward Kentucky Fried Chicken. So when we get to this part of the program, people start to talk about what we don't have. And in many cases, we don't have it because you're going to spend it on barbecue sauce and malt liquor. But if we could reward our warriors the way we reward the Nike sneaker people.
Speak on it.
Lord, if we could do for us what we have done for everybody else. If we could just reward our warriors, people who are deserving of this reward. If we could do for our own who struggle tirelessly. Dr. McIntyre said that she is tired, but that she is committed to struggle tired. That's part of the outstanding beauty of the black woman. Weary, but she won't fall. You can't break her spirit. But Lord, if we could reward this sister. After all of the allocating, I'm reminded of a song by Aretha Franklin that said, you've got to give her something real. You've got to give her something she can feel so she'll know your love is real. It's easy to talk big. Big talk, little action. We are a people who have become addicted to slogans. That's right. Forward ever, backward never. You don't love that stuff. We have become addicted to cliches by any means necessary. If you thought you had to do this by any means necessary. Amazing grace that saved your wretch like me. And y'all sing it with tears just pouring out. Know good well you don't think you're a wretch. Don't mean a word of it. But it sounds like such a hip idea. You know, I don't know why I have to be the one to do this. Because I want y'all to like me. I love you. I want y'all to love me. That's why I was very sharp was here to take up this offer. However, here's what we can do. We have got to be what our people need us to be. We've got to come and talk about how great Dr. Sizemore is because she is. And she needs to hear that. She needs to hear and see that we understand who she is and how valuable and how important she is to us. And so she really needs to hear these expressions of our love. But I agree with Aretha. Now it's time to give her something she can feel so that she'll know your love is real. I want everybody, and anybody who makes out a check, make it out to Dr. Robert Sizemore. All right, there's a check already being made out. Everybody, we have to make this real. I want to begin, if I can get at least 10 people with $100. They got nervous already. 10 people with $100. You're sitting next to your significant other. One more from Dr. J. All right, here, the money folks. Come over here with the man. Come right here, come right here. All right, is enough. It is time to put it all on the table and to say what we must do from here. I had enough of Charles Hines. The only thing that we can do is to convince one of these warriors to be the next district attorney. Enough is enough. But when y'all start clapping out, start preaching. Y'all we have a lot more. And I want to bring my sister Camille on that to take this further. But when y'all leave here, would y'all go straight home here? Yeah. But I want you to be there. I'll be there. Because it's the white folk in one corner and me in the other. Y'all be with me at 12. We home by 12:30. Either this is not open.
In this battle we are fighting, there are many words spoken. Our weapons are knowledge, weapons are truth. Dr. Clarke said we don't have to tell our young people which road to take in this life. We only have to show them the light of knowledge and they will find their own way. So we are tonight bringing this knowledge on and wearing it as armor and using it as weapons. One of the warriors in that battle who has been under attack for the last 2 or so years is with us tonight. He's going to say a few words before Dr. Asante comes on. Let us welcome to the microphone Dr. Leonard Jeffries.
Because we've got so many voices that we need to hear. I'll be talking to you in a heavy way this weekend here in Brooklyn because Brother Small is organizing a 2-day conference on African spirituality and its impact on the relationship between the African male and the African female. And so that conference will be at PS 258 right here on Macon. Between Marcy and Thompson. So I'll see you all on Saturday and Sunday. What time? 10 to 6 on Saturday and 10 to 1 on Sunday. But it's important for me to stand with my sister because we have struggled. How many years, Bob? We don't even want to say. You look good with your gray hair. And it's important to understand that the fight that she has waged over these decades has been a family fight. Barbara has never fought by herself or for herself. Her fight has been for the African family, for African children, for African manhood. And she's waged it in extraordinary ways. It goes way back beyond Chicago. In Chicago, she was with Dr. Donald Smith. And he and her and others, Nancy Inez, Dr. Nancy Inez, grounded that struggle back in Chicago, brought it on, and spread it to New York and Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., she was subject to the same type of treatment I have been subject to. Every day in the press, for weeks they attacked her. Not the New York Post, but the Washington Post. The same type of ghost represented. White folks unable to deal with the African truth and the struggle of our people. So all I have to say to you is thanks for the support that you've given to me over the years and in this past couple of years. And all we can do, my wife and I, is to rededicate ourselves to continue this struggle. There's no stepping back, there's no bowing down, there's no stopping, only moving forth with the African truth in the tradition that Dr. Ben and Dr. Clarke have waged, in the tradition that Olympia Sante is continuing, and Dr. Shawson McIntyre, and certainly our soul sister, scholar, Queen Mother, warrior, Dr. Barbara Sizemore.
To introduce Dr. Sante, I'd like to bring the microphone from Philadelphia, member, a UAM member from Philadelphia, Sister Rochelle E. Let us welcome her.
My brothers and sisters and ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pride to introduce, because we're so proud of Dr. Olympia Sante of Philadelphia for his accomplishments. He is a professor and chairperson, Department of the African Studies at Temple University in Philadelphia. Considered by his peers to be one of the most distinguished contemporary scholars, Professor Asante is the author of 32 books. The latest one is Thunder and Silence, the mass media in Africa. Dr. Asante has published more scholarly books than any contemporary African American. Dr. Asante received his PhD at 26 and was appointed a full professor at 30. He is the creator of the first doctoral program in African studies in the world. The author of more than 100 scholarly articles and the founder of the Afrocentric Philosophical Movement and National Afrocentric Institute. He has directed 42 doctoral students, many of them serve in important posts throughout the world. Sought after as a speaker, Dr. Asante was born in Valdosta, Georgia, educated at UCLA, and worked in Zimbabwe as a trainer of journalists. He is a poet, dramatist, painter, and gardener. His work on African culture and philosophy has been cited by the Journal of Black Studies, the Western Journal of Black Studies, Newsweek, the Chronicle of Higher Education, the National Council of Black Studies, the New York Times, the Today Show, Night Watch, Night Talk, Bet, the Tony Brown Show, McNeil Layer, NewsHour, and Night Talk. He is regularly quoted on issues in the African world. He is the chairperson of the board of Gerald, an educational magazine, founding editor, Journal of Black Studies, given honorary degrees for his educational and academic achievements. Asante is completing a book called The Sources of the African Tradition. Asante is consultant for the Baltimore, Detroit, Pleasantville, and Camden, New Jersey school district for rewriting the curriculum. An activist scholar, Asante believes that it's not enough to know. One must also act to humanize the world.
Brothers and sisters, let me just say that in the presence of my elders, Dr. Clarke, Dr. Ben Yakinen, in fact, almost everybody over here, in the presence of Dr. Barbara Sizemore, our honoree tonight, I give all praises to Atum, Fatah, Aman, and all
was listening to all of the speakers who preceded me. And I had written a presentation, and I kept getting more nervous each time as I heard them come and speak. Of course, Dr. Sharcy McIntyre was sitting next to me, and I said to her, everybody's getting up there speaking without notes. I got all these notes and all these papers, and then Dr. Lynn Jeffries got up and spoke without notes, and everybody was speaking without notes. I said, well, you know, I guess you just have to really take the lesson from that, that if you're in the midst of African people, if you're going to speak about somebody, you ought to speak from your heart and what you know. Let me just start, and let's start this way. The ancient people of Kemet had several questions that they always asked. One of them was, in terms of the nature of the universe, how do you describe the indescribable? The other one was, how do you show the unshowable? And then they wanted to know, how do you demonstrate the undemonstratable? And the fourth question that they always asked was, how do you explain the inexplicable? Tonight, when I was asked to talk about Dr. Barbara Sizemore on this keynote, it occurred to me that those four questions that the ancient people of Kemet asked and wanted to find answers for are questions that are very significant to me in terms of my own approach to Dr. Sizemore. It's a difficult task to try to explain the inexplicable, to try to show the unshowable, to try to describe the indescribable and to demonstrate the undemonstratable. However, I think that if we go back to Kemet itself and we look at the very beginnings of the teachings of the Kemite people, and we see that they believe that Atum, Ptah, and even Amun, if you take them all as almighty gods, were involved in the process of creating all the other deities as well as human beings. And you see what they did and how they resolved it. I think we can sort of come to some point on Dr. Barbara Sizemore. Because after all, if you take the Memphite theology, or if you take that which comes from the city that the Greeks call Heliopolis, or from the city of Thebes, what you get is that first of all, they created Shu and Tefnut. And then after Shu and Tefnut, Geb and Nut, these were called the cosmic deities. And then they created, then we see Osar and Osset, and then we see Set and Nepheg. These were the ones that were terrestrial and on the earth. Now, it's a very interesting thing here. I want you to keep this in mind, because what I'm going to try to do is to show you how Dr. Barbara Sizemore helps us to understand and to appreciate this entire development in the Kemetic world. She, as a warrior queen, has always been one who has stood against the process that has been in place in the educational system of this country, which has removed and detached and isolated and disconnected Africans from themselves. I call that process the Clarencization process. thinking. This is the attitude of Hatshepsut, the first of the greatest queens in the history of the world. This is the attitude of Nehanda, who fought the British in Zimbabwe. When the British came and was imposing taxes on them, she said, no, you won't do it here. It was the same attitude that Nzinga had in Angola when she waited in the cut for 40 years to pay the Portuguese back. It is the same attitude that we find with Yah Asantewaa in Ghana when they came and they were going to attack Kumasi, and she took the women and the children and said, you won't do that right here. Well, if you go back to 1973 and you see Dr. Barbara Sizemore, the warrior queen fighting in Washington, what she was fighting for at that time was the idea that our children were not failures and did not have to be labeled as failures. Let me tell you one thing. There is a difference between failure and not learning or not wanting to learn from somebody. And I'll tell you that African American children who are labeled as failures, most often they just don't want to learn from the people who are trying to teach them because they don't have credibility. And sometimes it's information that people don't want to learn. I was talking to a group of kids now when I was going to Buffalo, New York, and this was a school. The principal couldn't get 4 young brothers to be quiet so that she could introduce me to speak. And so I said to her, well, leave it to me, don't worry about it. You can't get them quiet, just introduce me. So she introduced me and I said the first thing this school ought to do is to have courses that are required in African American history. And those young brothers stopped. And they looked at me and they said, that's what we've been telling us. You do not have to say or label our children as failures if you understand what the problem is. The educational system in this country was never developed to accommodate African people. In the 17th century when they set it up for white males. They then tried to modify it so that it would accommodate women and then African people, but it was not designed for us. So what we need to begin to do is to look at that system in its entirety. In fact, we might need to dismantle the whole thing. Our children are capable of anything. I was in Burkina Faso, and in Burkina Faso I saw about 60 young African brothers and sisters in a classroom. Some had walked scattered his body pieces around the world. It was all set. He went looking for his pieces to put him back together. Dr. Barbara Sizemore has been trying to put us back together. And everywhere you see her, and I've seen her in well, she's always victorious, but I've seen her in some tough spots. I saw her in I think it was San Francisco or Washington, debating an African-American woman who said that she doesn't even like to be called African-American, don't even call her Afro-American or Negro because she's a colored person. I saw Dr. Barbara Sizemore tear her up. And I said, I'm going to be like her. No, we have a warrior queen. And I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, that there's a whole lot more I could say about her role in education. But tonight I know the hour is growing late, and I guess Bob Law's already gone. I was going to say I want to go hear Bob Law on the highway as I drive to Philadelphia, but I want to just close by saying to you, as I always like to say, stone in the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet brought us to the place for which our parents sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter, out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast.
Yes, it's hot up there, it's hot all over. There's a brother with us, another warrior. As Bob said, we are all warriors. Some of us up here are just out in front a little bit more. But if it weren't for you there, we would not be out here, because it's about the people. It's the people that count. This brother, you know well, that we have to fight in his cause too. Because you know, he studied, he got his degrees. And you know what they did to our brother on tonight. But we have to change it. Right now, because of the hour, we will not go deeply into that, but it's something work we have to do. To introduce the presentation of the William Leo Hansberry Award to Dr. Barbara Sizemore. Let us welcome Attorney Alton H. Maddox.
Jimmy Thompson started this evening out on a formal note. Jimmy's been with us for a long time, and generally when we finish singing, listen to every voice and sing, he states no justice, no peace. Tonight he decided to get formal on us. He decided to take no justice, no peace out of this program. Maybe somebody later on might put no justice, no peace back in this program. But in the meantime, Hotel, Assalamu alaikum. We are certainly pleased to all of you for your show of support tonight. This particular event is very meaningful to us because it allows us to honor someone who has made great achievements achievements toward helping us regain our minds. 400 years in America, most of us are out of our minds. And certainly, Dr. Clarke, our first recipient, and Dr. Ben, our second recipient, and now Dr. Sizemore, our third recipient, have certainly been in the vanguard of our struggle for education. And certainly, no one has contributed more than William Leo Hansberry in our time. Professor at Howard University, a school that I attended too many years ago. May reveal my age if I do, but certainly during the time that I was at Howard, he passed away. And so we find it very fitting now that we named this award the William Leo Hansberry Award. And I think that it is important for us as a people to be able to come together to honor someone who has made great contributions, even if that person has not labored in the vineyards of New York City. Because any African who has labored for Africans anywhere has labored for Africans everywhere. And so, before I formally give this award to Dr. Barbara Sizemore, let me first acknowledge members of the committee who put this tribute together. It is not easy to have a tribute such as this, and many of us sometimes fail to acknowledge how much effort was put into bringing something like this about. And I would certainly like those persons who have worked with us over the last few months to put this tribute together to assemble themselves hopefully behind me so that you can give them a warm welcome of applause. Thank you very much for that. Certainly one of the things that we recognize, especially looking at the life of El Hajj El Sabaz, the importance of organization. The importance of organization. I think that if his life meant anything, he talked about organization, right people coming together. Because only within an organization can we advance our interests. Families cannot carry out this kind of purpose. It takes many families coming together to carry out this. So it's important for all of us to be a part of an organization that is trying to carry out some particular mandate. And what is important here is not so much that we are united, but that we are organized. There's a difference between organization and unity. There's a big difference. And while many of us may not be united, we can certainly be organized. Let me stop here. I don't know, the It's something about Bethany. And everybody that gets behind this microphone turn into a preacher. When the real preacher decide to come in here, make us legitimate. There's something about this microphone from the first person that got up here, everybody wanted to preach. We got some great preachers up here. As we may let Reverend Sharpen ordain them tonight. Bob Lawson will be first in line. Certainly be followed by Professor Leonard Jeffries, Dr. John Henrik Clarke, and on and on and on. But this is a joyful evening, and it's just beautiful to see our people come out for something like this. And we're ever thankful for Dr. Asante to come here from Philadelphia to be in attendance with us tonight. Dr. Asante.